I think, Casey, probably the best thing to do is just to kind of go back. One of the things, and you don't even know this, but I called your mom the other day, and we talked for about an hour. So I got all the real inside scoop. But even from birth, from the very beginning, this Klippel-Trenaunay Weber syndrome, and you guys had no idea what was going on. Your parents had no idea until, what, age of 5 or something?
Yeah, I was born, I don't remember being born, but I was told that I had a kind of a birthmark on my leg, and my parents were kind of concerned about it, and the doctor said it was just a hemangioma, nothing to worry about. But I used to cry a lot, more maybe than most kids, and finally they took me in to see some doctors when I was young because it just didn't look quite right, and they kind of diagnosed it as something, but really it's never been really, I don't think, ever properly diagnosed. I was back with a doctor not too long ago. He goes, you could have KT, but I don't even know really what you have. So basically what I do have is just a pretty massive amount of vascular malformations in my right leg, kind of starting up high and really flooding my knee. And I've had it all my life. And my leg, the blood will go down into my right leg, and the pump system that brings it back up just doesn't work right. So if I were to stand up, I wear a bunch of stockings on my leg to keep it really compressed. If I were to take those off and stand here, you could see my leg just swell up. And it would go to just the breaking point. And it would look something like varicose veins, only really the massively severe kind times 1,000. So that's kind of what it looks like. And that in itself was uncomfortable, and I was a little self-conscious at times with it. But I lived a very normal life. It was painful, but nothing to really slow me down as a kid too much. But what happened is over time, when I was active, a lot of that blood would be in my tibia, and it would basically almost rot that bone. Just you can imagine if you had a log or something in water the whole time, it kind of eventually gets weak, and that's sort of what the doctor, kind of a metaphor for my tibia and my shin, that it was just in so much blood that it just kind of has been getting weak. And so a lot of my pain, a lot of the reason that I had to use a golf cart was just the pain associated with just kind of a tibia and kind of a degeneration there. And in fact, because I'm going to ask one thing, can you bring me a chair there so I can prop my leg up? It's not for effect. See, he's a lot quicker. Nice job. So this might not look the best, but I'm way happier right now. So yeah, that's kind of been my situation with my leg, and has been since I was born, and it's gotten progressively worse, but I've also been taken care of, obviously, with a lot of ways. So,
tell us a little bit about how you decided to go to Stanford, how that evolved, and how all that decision came about.
It was a really hard decision. The coach called me, and I said, "What do I got to do?" Had I played football or basketball, I would have gone to Oregon because, like I said, I just this massive, somewhat psychotic fan, and had given the opportunity, that's what I would have done. But that wasn't an option, and with my leg, I would have never thought I would have played a professional sport, and so I did well in school, wanted to be a brain surgeon, no joke, and once my brother was 2 years ahead of me, went to school at UNLV. When he was at UNLV, he knew a lot of the coaches and was kind of telling the Stanford coach, "Hey, you better watch my brother." And so, like I said, the Stanford coach called me when he could, and it was pretty much a done deal. If I could get into Stanford, that was where I wanted to go, mainly just because of the education. Like I said, I never could have imagined playing a professional sport. And so to get that degree, that was what I wanted. So it wasn't actually as easy a decision once I took visits. I took a visit to UCLA. I loved it. Obviously, was recruited by Oregon. Loved that. I took a visit to UNLV and liked the potential different load that Stanford than the Stanford load at UNLV. No offense, Brandon, but it's not that hard, buddy. And so there were a lot of different factors. And I remember telling a couple of coaches, that, "Hey, if I'm sold out on professional golf, I'm coming to your school." But I said, I kind of want to be a doctor too. And they're looking at me like, "What?" And so I did go to Stanford and intended to be a doctor. After the first day of school, I said, "Probably shouldn't be a doctor. I will not survive this climate." I was pretty intimidated. I was a good student, but I not compared to Stanford. And in fact, I remember this story. I'll tell you this quick story at Stanford, my freshman year, and had nothing but A's in high school. And I was a hard worker, and I was smart enough, but not like brilliant. So I was in this calculus class and missing some school for golf, and we had our first test, and the professor got up there and says, "Well, the high of the class was 78 out of 100, the low was 18. And I was sitting there going, 18? That sucks. And I got 18. And so when I saw that, I was like, wow. this is a whole different, and so that was kind of an eye-opener to me, and my dreams of being a doctor and pretty much doing anything other than sports at that point pretty much vanished, and I said, I better work on my golf swing a little bit, because this might be an easier thing, so Stanford.
Well, obviously, you played with Nota Begay, who's played the tour. He's kind of set some precedent as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about Nota a little bit.
Yeah, we had an amazing team my years at school. In fact, our senior year, let me jump ahead a little bit, the team was Tiger Woods, who you've probably heard of, Nota Begay, who was full-blooded Native American, half Pueblo, half Navajo, myself, William Yanagisawa, who was Japanese American, and then a buddy of mine named Steve Burdick, who we called just our boring white guy. So we had this group of, an African American, a disabled American, a Native American, an Asian American, and then you're just standard white guy. And so we were really, that was the height of the PC multiculturalism, the fascination.
Absolutely.
And we were just this team that was just like carrying the banner, and we were good too. We had won the national championship the year before Tiger showed up, and then when Tiger showed up his senior year, it was like literally playing golf with a rock star, with Elvis. I mean, everywhere we went, he was signing autographs, and it was a media hype, and to get to experience, being around him and all that was really awesome. And we were winning tournaments by 30 and 40 shots, and it was really quite a fun experience.
What was so amazing about '98 is you qualified to play in the United States Open, finished 23rd. Yeah. And
I won $40 off Tiger in a practice round. So that, forget 23rd, and he barely would pay. That's the thing. Here's a Tiger story. I'll tell you what, you want to know the tightest guy on the planet? It's Tiger. I mean, you cannot get $1 off of him. But I did take him down in the practice round, and I had to stand in front of his courtesy car before he left, but he gave me 220. So I was like, okay. Sorry, you need to know that. That's a big part of this.
Kind of a Tiananmen Square kind of stand-up, you know what I mean, in the parking lot. So if you don't understand, you finish top 125 on the tour, you maintain your full status for the following year. Then there's something called conditional status from 126 to 150. It gives you, maybe you get to 20 events the following year, roughly is usually the number, 20 to 25 events. But if you finish outside the top 150, you've really kind of lost your job. And you finished outside the top 150 in 2000. Yeah. But then in 2001 was when actually the Supreme Court came along, and now you really don't have your status anymore. Right. So you had to have some kind of mixed emotions about all that.
My year on tour was frustrating because I was playing some of the best golf of my life. Obviously, it was at the highest level. I think I was going into the final round in the springtime. I was in the top 10 going into 3 tournaments in a matter of a few months. And every time the final round, I just melted, had an awful final round. So I was in a position to have a really good year, and I just couldn't finish it off for whatever reason, whether my game wasn't strong enough or whether all the pressure I was dealing with, who knows. But I remember the first half of the year, I was so close to really breaking through. And then I got knocked down a bunch, and then at the end of the year, I just wasn't able to do enough to keep my job. And so what happened is getting back to my point a little bit ago, is I'd played under all this pressure and had played well. I hadn't quite gotten over the hump, but had played really well. And then all of a sudden, in 2001, I actually got a call from Tim Fincham in the morning in 2001 sometime, and he said, "Hey, this is Commissioner Fincham. I just want to let you know you won the Supreme Court battle. Congratulations." So I thought that was, he had notified, even before my lawyers got a hold of me, he had found out and just called to congratulate me. And so in 2001, it was over. There's nothing that they could do anymore. There's no more. I had won, and still to this day, if I go play a PGA Tour event, there'll be a cart there with my name on it if I make it into it. So that was a great feeling. And at that point, every media guy called up and said, "Wow, now you're just going to play incredible because all this pressure's off, and now you can really go get after it." And then my game went straight downhill. And who knows why, I still haven't figured it out. But I was with all this trials and all this frustration and all the challenges I had, I was still getting better and playing. And then once I got it and had this free ticket to ride, I went downhill. So that was a big frustration.